So what advantage is there in all of man's labor? And is all vanity? Ecclesiastes talks about the rewards of the fruit of our labor as giving pleasure and for the pursuit of wisdom. But neither one of these work as the all of man. For rewards, we see in chapter 2 that he says, all that my eyes desired, I did not refuse them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart was pleased because of all my labor. And this was my reward for all my labor. And thus I considered all my activities, which my hands had done, and the labor which I had exerted. And behold, all was vanity and striving after the wind, and there was no profit under the sun. Why is this? He elaborates in verse 18 and following. Thus I hated all the fruit of my labor for which I had labored under the sun. For I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool. Yet he will have control over all the fruit of my labor for which I had labored by acting wisely under the sun. This too is vanity. Therefore I completely despaired of all the fruit of my labor for which I had labored under the sun. So that which had been the source of his pleasure and comfort turned to an object of scorn and hate, because what he thought it was something up here. And when he approached it and contemplated it and realized that it wouldn't last, that it couldn't fulfill it, it couldn't bear the weight of man's all, the point of his life. And then he crumbled. If at the end of the day, what lasts, right? I love that phrase, at the end of the day. There's so many things that vie for our attention, so many activities we could be involved in, but the sun sets, a new sun rises, and at the end of the day, what carries over to the next? So if all of life be a day, at the end of the day, what remains? And here, he sees that all of his labors wouldn't remain, and so he sees them as empty. Where he thought they would satisfy, now they're a source of a painful reminder of the emptiness of life. So what do we gain for all our labor at the end of the day? Am I giving myself to the proper end? Is my all given to in the right place, or am I chasing after something on the periphery, and so setting myself up to be let down? Am I making a minor point the entire email or book? Am I interested in crafting this incredible slide, this water slide, and not even really paying attention to if my boat will float or not, or if it'll capsize? I see throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, first it has this emphasis on the all of man and surveying all the things that he could be about throughout it. And it notes that rewards are a gift from God, but they're not God's themselves, little g, that they can't sustain us. If they are made, the rewards, the pleasure of the satisfaction of our labors and the work that we're given to do, they ultimately would disappoint. Imagine who hasn't had a little kid collect wild flowers in a field and bring up that precious bouquet, or maybe been the child themselves that you've collected flowers and given them to your mom or grandmother. But imagine receiving that little bouquet and thinking, oh, I here in my hands am clasping love. This is love. But ultimately, flowers die. They won't always be there. You can't keep them forever. You don't want to, but you have to throw them away at some point. And if they're mistaken, the expressions of love are mistaken for the love themselves, then ultimately when they're gone and taken away, or we contemplate the futility of it, that eventually they will be gone, we're setting ourselves up to be hugely let down. So rewards in their proper place as gifts from God, as expressions of His love, not gods in themselves, retain their value and their pleasure as rewards, gifts. And wisdom he saw as being like having eyes to see, foresee, preserve his life, keep him from making missteps that would cost him. And where he did lament that the wise man and the fool have a similar end and that they both perish, yet he still saw the benefit of wisdom, and so he said to himself, I will pursue wisdom. And then he found that wisdom was elusive. He couldn't attain it. And so this too was vanity. So we see that rewards are a gift from God. Wisdom is a gift from God. And what the all of man is actually found at the end of the book. And it's shorter than my subject line, shorter than a title written by Wilberforce. As a purpose statement for our lives, it says the conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep His commandments, because this applies to every person. This is man's all. For God will bring every or all acts to judgment, everything, all things, which is hidden, whether it is good or evil. Or, as sometime later the Apostle Paul would say, in the chapter, 1 Corinthians 15, talking about the resurrection of Christ and all the eyewitnesses, goes on to say that if Christ isn't raised, then our preaching is in vain, and your faith is in vain. All this is in vain. But Christ is raised, and we in Christ are brought to right relationship with God so that God would be all in all. So may God be your all in all, the chief aim of your life, so then the rewards and fruit of your labor would not be seen and sought as little gods letting you down, but would be seen as expressions of God's love. That we would seek to fear Him and keep His commandments, which is the beginning of wisdom. So may our purpose be that God would be our all in all. We would fear God, keep His commandments. And I will see you all on the next video.